Hey y'all. I actually wanted to talk about my experience going through LPN school at Jersey College. And I'm doing this because I remember telling myself if God was able to get me through this, that I was going to share my testimony. And I noticed that I've always came across videos of students who were like, it seems like they had their life to, like, I wouldn't say have their life together, but they were pretty organized, kind of giving kind of advice and stuff like what worked for them and that they're top of their class. But I never saw a video of, oh, sorry for the smoke detector, but I never saw a video of somebody who, I'm not gonna say never, but it was very a small amount of videos of actually students who struggled tremendously and was still able to come out on top. And so it's kind of discouraging a little bit. So I am the actual student. I struggled my first semester. I started off with anatomy and physiology and the fundamental of nursing. And there's another class that you take too, which was pretty easy. Everybody pretty much passed that class. I failed both. I failed anatomy and I failed fundamental of nursing. Let me rewind back. I was working two jobs. I already have my bachelor's degree in psychology. When the pandemic hit, it was a eye-opener for me that my job is not stable, and so I had a dream that God told me to go back to school. And the dream was clear as day. I knew exactly what it meant. I knew it was a message from him. And I said, you know what? Why not? Let me go ahead and make an attempt. Because I've been always feeling this spirit, like God wanted me to go back to nursing school. But I just kept fighting it for years. And so I actually chose to go to nursing school in the middle of a pandemic. Long story short, I took the entry exam at a community college called FSCJ. I barely passed. So I was like, yeah, that dream was not what I thought it was. But in the dream, he specifically told me exactly what school to apply for, which I completely forgot, I said, well, let me try this one school and see what happens. So I applied. I took the entry exam. I passed with flying colors, to the point I passed with a high score that I was able to apply for the nursing program, the RN. But I felt it was smarter for me to do the LPN program because with me having my bachelor's degree, I've maxed out my Pell Grant. So I was only able to afford the LPN program. Fast forward, mind you, at the time I was working two jobs. I end up having to stick with one job, and which was a remote job. So I worked from home. And my lease was up. Like, it was crazy. I was so in my own world. I didn't even realize my lease was up until I looked at my rent and I was actually paying for market price. So it's crazy because I had to find a new home. The apartment that I was staying in was at a very nice area and I couldn't afford it. And this is what I tell you, when God's in it, like, nobody can't shut it down. Like, it doesn't matter. When you really put your faith into God, like, nothing can shut down. And so I was looking for a home. This time I said I was going to try to find a home that I could rent. I found a home. At that time, this was before inflation and everything. I found a home that was $875, brand new, renovated, everything renovated from top to bottom. And I was already paying like $1,300 for a one-bedroom apartment. So then, boom, I needed help to put the down deposit because I also had to pay for the apartment I was in, and then I also had to pay for down deposit, first month's rent, all that for this new house that I was trying to, to get into. Mind you, like I said, I forgot my rent. I don't know, man. I was in my own world. I forgot that my lease was even up. So long story short, I called the United Way, which is like the 211. And it's so hard to get a hold of these people whenever you need like down payment assistance. I called the first time, boom, I was already in. I mean, when I tell you, like, the case manager that was handling my case, not only did she help me pay my rent for my other old apartment, they paid for my first month's rent and the down deposit. Like, when I tell you, when God's in it, nobody can like, you know how much, when Jesus say yes, nobody Everybody can't, like, that's it. Fast forward. Now I'm in nursing school. Like, everything is so, like not real at this point, because I can't believe I'm actually making these sacrifices. I done left my apartment that I was comfortable in. I done quit my job, my second job I was making good money in. I'm only down to one job. And also, I had to pay out of pocket for nursing school. I didn't know how I was going to pay out of pocket for nursing school with the job that I was working at. I was only making like $32,000 a year. The LPN program that I was, applying for was $2,300, and then I had rent to pay. Boom. I'm going to fast forward. So I told you, I started off with anatomy, physiology, and fundamentals. Failed. Like, I think I was a few points away from passing, but I failed. After that, I was just like kind of discouraged. I was like, yo, this is not for me. What am I? Like, am I really playing myself? Like, this is not for me, So out of 15 students in my class, all 12 of us failed. And this was the time during the pandemic. The school that I was in was a physical type of school where, like, you had to come into the classroom physically. So when the pandemic hit, they had to adjust everything last minute and make everything virtual. I don't think they were prepared the way that they needed to be prepared for the virtual classes, because a lot of students failed. A lot of students were cheating. So when it came down to the final exam, a lot of students were passing during regular exams, but when it came to the final exam, a lot of students failed, because I believe during the final exam, we had to come to the school to take the exam. So a lot of students failed. So then I said, you know what? So then I said, you know what? Let me give this a try. So boom, I go back, repeat the class again. I'm passing with flying colors. Sometimes you just need like a refresher. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes it took the second time for everything to click. I barely even had to study. One thing I could honestly tell you, learn your learning style. Are you a visual learner? Are you an audio learner? Do you have to write things down in order for things to sink in your brain? That's something that I didn't utilize during my first semester that I start utilizing the second time. So boom, I passed with flying colors. I think I had like a B average in both classes, right? Boom, second semester. Whereas pharmacology, med surg, and mental health. I love mental health. Mental health was like a piece of cake for me, but some students struggle with mental health. But that med surg, let me tell you something. I failed my first two exams. Mind you, in total for the semester, you have four exams. Your grade is made up by your exam. It's not about so much more of your homework. It's by your exam. The first test I took for med surg, I made a 65, and the second exam I made like a 54. So pretty much my average was like a 60 something. It was something in that range. I knew from there, it's either, I knew I was going to fail. So I made the decision. I said, I could either just give up and just continue to go to classes and just make myself believe that I'm going to pass, or I can go hard as I can. Hard as I can and pass. And it's funny because when I got that last result, the second exam, I just knew. I was done. And then I heard this voice in my ear, like literally like, walk by faith, not by sight. When I put this on everything, kid, everything, walk by faith and not by sight. And I really applied it. So one thing about it, I love cardio. I mean, that's one thing. Like, I was so fascinated about the heart. I knew everything about the heart. So the third exam, it was all about cardio. So of course it was a piece of cake to me. You know what I'm saying? So when I took that third exam, I made a 90. In order for me to pass this class, I would have to make 2 A's in order to pass. Fourth exam, I made like a 93. When I tell you, it's not about being the smartest student in the classroom. It's all about having persistent, not giving up. Because I've watched the smartest student in my class still end up quitting. It's being persistent. So boom, by the time I was done with med surg, I end up, so the third exam, I made a 90, the third exam, I made a 90, the fourth exam, I made a 93. And on the final exam, I made like a 80 something. So I passed that class. I went literally from a 60 average to a 76. So I had like a C, and you need a 75 to pass. And with pharmacology, I was decent in pharmacology, but I failed pharmacology. What saved me is that the school gives this exam. It's called the Prep U. And it helps you, if you get like a certain like percentage, it gives you 3% like from your, from your actual grade. So it gives you an extra point. The fact that I failed it the first time, I was able to take it the second time. And you know how many points I was away from passing? 1 point. So that 1 point helped me go through the next third semester. It was to the point where everybody had their schedule for the next third semester. Mine was still pending because they didn't know if I passed the prep year or not. And I passed literally by 1 point. Hello. Third semester. Mind you, in order in Jersey College, you have 4 semesters because it takes about like a year to pass. Third quarter. Let me tell you, I love maternity. I think that's the reason like I fell in love with nursing, because I always wanted to be a OBGYN. When I went to college, I wanted to become like an OBGYN. So I went to like, biology. Long story short, but I didn't make it. I couldn't pass like algebra. Like I failed algebra like 3 times. Don't tell nobody. So here comes maternity. Love maternity. Everything about maternity fascinates me. That class was piece of cake. Fourth quarter is the last quarter of the program. Fourth quarter is when you put everything together, where everything makes sense. This is when you apply all the things that you've learned from med surg and everything. It starts to make sense. This is the time where you put everything together. And I can't even tell you, I was passing fourth quarter like it wasn't nothing. It was like, I was so shocked by the grades I was getting. Like, I would think I failed an exam and I was literally passing. Let me tell you what helped me and what will help you if you apply to Jersey College. There's pros and cons about the school. The con is not, anything is unexpected. Like, anything can happen at that school. One day your teacher may not show up. You might not even have a teacher that semester. But one thing that school had taught me is you never rely on a professor. Don't ever rely on a teacher. Rely on yourself. Rely on yourself. When you're home and you're about to start a new chapter, read that chapter before the teacher explains it to you. So when the teacher explains, you can provide questions. You get what I'm saying? That was the best thing. And that was the pro about the school, because one thing about our class, 90% of our class passed. We were like one of the first classrooms that passed. Like, we all passed. We didn't rely on the teacher. So if our teachers didn't show up, we knew how to study together. Like, we read our books. We this and that. We never relied on our teacher. And that was the key for us to survive. And that's why when it hit fourth quarter, everything was starting to click in, because we taught ourselves. And when our teachers came in, it was an extra bonus. So moving forward. Now here comes the exit exam. This is where a lot of students don't make it. The exit exam. Oh my God. When I tell you, you would hear each quarter, like, students crying because they didn't pass. But the way my school works is that you only have 4 chances to take your exit exam. And if you don't pass that 4th one, you pretty much have to start the whole program all over again. You know how some schools give you like another class to prepare, and then you can, no. They give you 4 chances to take that exit exam. If you don't pass, or you start all over again. Like, it's the worst. So here we go. So we've heard so many stories, like students were not passing the exit exam. Like it was horrible. So us coming in, we're like, what, we didn't know what to expect. So here's our first exit exam we're taking. I think only out of 12 students, 3 end up passing. I wasn't one of them. I remember like I boohoo cried. Like I was distraught. The first time we had HESI, and HESI's harder. I don't care what anybody say. HESI's way harder than ATI. So the second time we took ATI is good. I think ATI has like 180 questions, and we only had 3 hours to finish up ATI. What happened is that 5 of the students' computers glitched, where our clock was running, and we could not stop the clock from running. And we still had to continue. So I remember like speeding, trying to read the question and pay attention to key points and what I think the answer would be. So I remember I had like 40 questions and I had 18 minutes to answer 40 questions. That was like two questions per minute. Anyway, long story short, when I got my results, I had like 5 points away from passing. I was like over it, bro. So here comes the third one. My third exam, and this is HESI because I think we only take ATI 1 time out of the 4 chances. At that point, my mindset, mind you, what I did to prepare myself, I had UWorld and I had Your Best Grade. I tackled both of them. I did probably like 20 questions a day. I mean, I know they're supposed to do more. I was doing like 20, 30 questions a day, but I focused on my weakness more than my strength, because I know I was good in cardio. I know I was good in certain other stuff. I was good at pathology. Like I was good in that type of stuff. You know, I just sucked in the endocrine and all that extra stuff. So I focused on my weakness. And so by the time the third time came, I had the mindset of I didn't give a fuck anymore. I'm sorry to be on. I'm just gonna be very honest with you. My grandmother died. I'm not really like, I'm not really, I don't know. I stopped. It's not that I didn't care. I just didn't give a fuck anymore. And I went on a vacation like 2 days before my exam. So my mind was relaxed. I think the key to taking exams is to truly relax for like, you just have to be calm. And I took that exam. I felt okay. I felt good. I didn't feel like I passed. I didn't get too excited or whatever. Long story short, I got a call from the dean, and that's when I found out that I passed. So within that, I think 2 weeks, I had got my letter that I could take my NCLEX, and I took my NCLEX all the way through. Like I took all 5 hours. I don't know about y'all, but I took all 5 hours. And when I was done, I didn't even think I passed. And then I did the good pop-up, bad pop-up. The good pop-up popped up saying that I couldn't reschedule. And I still didn't believe it because like I thought I failed. And then boom, I passed. I passed and I became a nurse, and I'm an LPN, and it's been the most rewarding thing ever. Like I'm just so happy I went through that. Like I mean, it's hard, but I wouldn't trade that experience. So I hope this helped. And like I said, this is for the story for the students who are struggling, like constantly struggling. Like this is not for the A student who like this is something like this to motivate you guys. Because if I can do it, somebody who had no background history in nursing, I didn't know diddly squat, to come into nursing and to pass and had the mindset that I did, you can definitely do it.